Now that the year is over, how do you think we did? What are the right metrics to look at when analyzing a small business's performance? Do you look at how well they made sales? Do you look at how well they met their customers' expectations? Do you manage their performance based off of how effective they were at getting product from start to finish? Do you measure it by quality metrics? How many times they had to send a product back to start? How do you measure success? How do you think we measure our last year? And how do you think we did knowing the larger economic standards? These are all questions that we're hoping to answer today. Stay tuned for the Murdy Creative Co podcast. And welcome back to the Murdy Creative Co podcast. I'm your host, Colin Murdy, and it has been 6 months since my last episode. I appreciate your patience for all of those of you who've been fans of the podcast. I am hoping to return to a weekly podcast schedule where we can go more into details about both educational and interesting content. We're going to probably move the podcast to Wednesday because we're going to continue to do our limited edition drops on Thursday, as well as the behind the scenes email on Friday. So I want to make sure that our content's spread out a little bit. With that in mind, I'm hoping to be able to provide you guys with a little sneak peek of what our limited editions might be. Not really a sneak peek per se, but a hint about what they might be for those of you who follow the podcast. I will insert somewhere randomly in the episodes on Wednesday a little detail about the limited edition. So you'll have to watch if you want to know more about what's coming tomorrow. Now, to go into detail about why I've been gone for 6 months, I had my wonderful child, and my wife did great. Obviously, she did most of the heavy lifting there. But I was able to take some paternity leave and spend some time with the family, which is always appreciated and good. And then I came back to, well, a lot of work to do. I mean, there's always a lot of work to do in a small business. That's just the reality of the job. And it's a good thing, too, because I would be rather bored if there wasn't a lot to do. But I came back to a lot to do, and there was a long discussion about, well, what do I give? What do I get? What do I take? How do we manage the schedule? And the podcast seemed the most logical thing to take a break from since we were already on sabbatical from it. But it has been far too long since I have talked to you guys, and I would love to tell you about how things went. Now, if you haven't seen the company yet, if you haven't supported the company yet, go check out murdycreative.co. That's our website. We have all of our links to our socials there. We do post regularly, or soon to be much more regularly, on our social media feeds. And we appreciate, obviously, you guys supporting the company there. Now that that's out of the way, I am so excited to be back doing the podcast because there's been so many exciting things that have happened here behind the scenes that, well, I haven't had a lot of chance to tell you guys face to face, as it were. The behind the scenes email has been a wonderful place for me to kind of play around with what that's going to look like. It's been a wonderful opportunity for me to say, okay, how do I want to frame that? I had a wonderful email from a while back from a gentleman who said, what are you hoping to accomplish with this email? And it was a good question. And it dawned on me after he had questioned that the email itself kind of jumped into the middle of the story. And that's where I added the paragraph at the beginning that says, if you haven't seen any of our other blogs or any of our other posts here, you can go read the old ones. And then I jump into the story. I added that specifically because I realized that a lot of our new customers who may have purchased something 2 days ago get that email at the end of the week. And if they have no idea what the story is, they're jumping into the middle. So I've shifted that a little bit in the last couple of months. It used to be much longer. I've shortened it a little bit, not trying to take anything out of it, but I just realized that I needed to have each of them be a little more targeted in what I was trying to do with them, right? What story was I trying to tell? What was I trying to convey? What was this supposed to give the customer, right? What was the content value that I was creating for them? And so as I kind of honed that behind the scenes email down a little bit, I realized that there was a lot of cool stuff I didn't get to talk about. And so that's part of what the podcast is going to be able to provide. Just more opportunity for those of you who really are big fans of the company and want to learn a little bit more about what's going on behind the scenes. It gives you guys a little background and a little bit more behind it. I'm also hoping to use it, as I always have, as an educational platform for those of you who are looking to start a small business, or those of you who are interested in learning what it's like to run a small business. Or those of you who are just curious about what the details that goes into the day-to-day of a manager like me. And it's exciting to be able to provide that opportunity through this medium. If you like the way I sound, I am working with a new sound engineer. His name is Josh, and he's awesome, and we're working on trying to tweak the sound a little bit. I knew that it wasn't quite right before, and part of the problem was that if you listen to it on the speakers of a computer or on the phone or on your headphones or over the radio in your car, they sounded totally different and wildly disparate. And I didn't personally like the way that I sounded in some of the meetings, and I liked the way I sounded in others. And so this is where I had a long conversation with him over break, and it was great to kind of talk through the mechanics of how engineering works for sound. And so we're working on trying some new sound and see how it sounds, and I'm hoping you guys like it. If you don't, obviously, feel free to keep that to yourself, or you can mention it in the comments below. I have no control over that. But how do we do last year? That's a great question. Overall, I'd say rather well, actually. It was a very difficult year, obviously. We've had a lot of difficult years back to back to back. The financial situation, the economic situation writ large for the country is one that, well, it's not great. That's just the truth of it. But the hope is that we can see some improvement, and I think that there is improvement coming. We were able to weather a lot of that storm, a lot of the challenges that we faced through what I'll call judicious and practical decision-making. We did take on a little more debt than I wanted to, and obviously one of the big pushes that I want to have in 2025 and beyond is I want to get our debt gone. And there's a lot of reasons behind that, but moreover, I'll sleep a lot better at night if we don't have this debt load hanging over the top of us. And I think a lot of small business owners are in the same boat. I think debt is a huge challenge for a lot of the businesses out there, especially post-COVID, because I think a lot of the time that we've seen has been this challenge where we went from a very, very low interest, very cheap debt environment where lending was very easy and the interest rates weren't that bad. And that led to a lot of companies taking on debt. And now we've seen a lot of rising interest rates. And the top risk interest rates for small businesses can be quite ludicrous. And it actually goes back to something I've talked about in the past with mob money. And that's what I call Shopify's capital system that they have, that they do, the revolving capital. And I've had ups and downs with it, but I have come to believe that mob money, the Shopify capital, is really poison, and it is poison to a business. And I have theory about why that is. And I think in the history of our company, we've taken a lot more of it than we should, and we've paid off a lot of it, and we need to keep going on that. So that's an area of opportunity that I'm hoping to accomplish in 2025. But that's not really what happened in 2024. What happened in 2024 was us launching the new covers, right? That was an exciting new product line. And one, ironically, years in the making. And what I mean by that is the design that we use right now for our leather covers, the number 7s, I actually had that as the original idea for the number 2s, the journals. That was the original idea I had for journals, but I wanted something at the time that was hardcover. And it didn't really work very well with hardcovers, as you can imagine. So that's what led to us coming up with a new bar idea. But for me, it just turned into such a great opportunity that I was so excited to launch those, and I'm so glad they're out there, and it has become my favorite. The stationary cut is what I use every day now for my daily journaling, and I've really, really come to love it. And beyond that, we had a great opportunity to try catalogs, and our catalog experiments were interesting. We started our first catalog as something that went in the product box in July, and that was a huge success by virtually every metric. It's hard to track catalogs. That's been a problem in the industry since the dawn of catalogs. And you can do it through codes. You can do it through various methods. You can do it through QR codes and other things like that. But realistically, you just never know what effect a catalog has on sales. And you can never know, right? Even if someone uses a discount code out of a catalog, it's hard to know whether the catalog was what moved them or discount code. And as I've talked about in various other ways, it might be both. It often is both. So we started doing catalogs in July, and we started those with various creative different types of methods of creating that tracking system, and we sent them in every box, and they were wildly successful if you look at just the numbers. I also think they were wildly successful in that they're kind of cool, and they're good for people to give to other people. They got a lot of kind of long tail advantages. And so we did that again through Christmas. We actually ran out of the original batch. I made a new version, and we sent the new version with the Christmas one, and we're obviously going to continue to do that because it was a great opportunity. The mailing of the catalogs, we had such a limited scope that it was really hard to tell how well those worked or didn't work. We had to do it very manually. It was a whole process, and it had a really good rule of cool, right? They were very cool in the way that we mailed them, but at the same time, well, they were just an enormous amount of very manual work. And at the time we were really slow, so we had the time to do it. But thankfully right now we're very busy, and so we don't really have the time to do it anymore. So I've got to kind of experiment with some new catalog mailing opportunities in the future. I'm going to use the word opportunity a lot in this podcast, I'm realizing. But it was good. And I think we had a wonderful team this last year. It is a joy of mine, a true joy that I have the team I have. In many ways, every business has to contend with the fact that someone can always copy your product. They can copy your website. They can copy the way that you do your marketing. But the one thing that you can't copy from another person is the team they have. My HR professor always said this, and it was, of course, an HR professor would say this, but I didn't really believe it properly at the time. But I mean, she always said that having the right people is the secret sauce to having a good company. And I've had a great team for years, but this specific year, it really felt like the team came into its own. And we had a lot of ups and downs. We moved people around and had kind of new responsibilities, and that was both good education for all of us and an interesting challenge for the various people involved. But we ended up kind of coming to really good, knowledgeable conclusions about how well that worked and where everyone fits best. And I'm very happy with the progress the team made in those various areas that they did. And that excellent team made for one of the best Christmases we've ever had. And actually, I can say unqualified, the best Christmas we've ever had. Did we sell the most product and make the most product this Christmas? No. This was not the largest sales Christmas we've ever had. However, it was the best Christmas in that we had the best results for our marketing spend. So we had the best bang for our buck. We had really solid sales. We were up like 20% over the last year. So we did see a growth Christmas. We were never behind more than 3 business days, and we were only 3 business days behind a handful of times. Most of the time we were within 2 business days or less, which has never been the case. That is extraordinarily rare for any time, but much less Christmas, right? I think last Christmas we were 5 days on average or 7 days. The Christmas before that we were even further out. And everything just ran smoothly. We had no major shortages except for the panels that we use in our travel cuts and our executive cuts. And that was obviously a little bit of a tragedy. But the good news is that they're a relatively narrow product category. So it wasn't like we lost an enormous part of our product line. So even that small hiccup was not the end of the world for us. And we have it back in stock now, so that's great. But all that to be said, it was such a good Christmas. Everybody was able to go home at the normal times. We didn't have enormous overtime hours. We didn't have to worry about, being delayed. I believe, as far as I'm aware, all the Christmas presents arrived when they were supposed to or on time. We even were able to get extra things out that we hadn't intended to, or that we hadn't promised that we would, but we were able to get them out ahead of time. So, I mean, if I could have every Christmas like this, I absolutely would. It was great. It was truly a joy. And we did that through a variety of different things. Not only did we do it through good training and good practice, and the team that we had been the same team that we've had for the last 9 months, 10 months, 12 months. So we had a really good practice. It wasn't like we had a bunch of new people that needed to be trained. That's always been a challenge for past Christmases, is that we brought on new people in October and November, and you're training them and you're bringing them up, to their capabilities. But by the time we get to Christmas, they may not be their full potential. So that was something where having that excellent team was good. And we also changed some of our processes a little bit, because we realized after doing our original database building process, which we spent most of the fall building out the back end of what the database will look like. All of the tables, how do they interconnect? What do they teach each other? What do they have connected within themselves? How do they reference each other? And I'm really proud of the structure of the database that we've got now. It's a very complicated, powerful, let me put it this way. It's shockingly simple for what it can accomplish. It's got a very, very straightforward set of tables that, with those tables properly filled out in the correct UI and with the correct queries, we'll be able to generate answers that not only am I confident our competitors don't have, I'm confident that there are a lot of major companies out there that don't have software like this. So it's not done yet, and that's going to be a big uphill climb this year. But that is the foundation of it is there, and it's exciting to me to be able to have the answers that it will provide. So that's exciting. We also have been working on reformulating our leather a little bit. What's coming in 2025 is still a little bit under the hood, and here's why. I have some great ideas for things that I think will be big products. Frankly, some of them are products I've talked about in the past, and I think some of you who've been big fans know exactly what I'm talking about. Pause. Here's where I'm going to give you the limited edition tip. The limited edition tomorrow will be gray. And back into it. So one of those products is a product that I've talked about for a long time in the past. It will hopefully come to light, I'm hoping, in the first quarter or second quarter. It's just taken a long time to develop it. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to launch it until it's ready. I'm on prototype 112, right? 115 actually now. And it's not ready quite yet, but it's going to get there. We're going to make it. And I'm close. I'm really close. So that particular product is going to come out when it comes out. But there's another set of products that are going to come out later. Now, one of the issues that has been plaguing us in the past, and we are going to work on resolving that shortly, but it's one of the things that I want to long tail, is a slight reformulation of our leather. Now, it shouldn't really change what you feel, and it really shouldn't change the look, and it will have the same color. So it'll be a minor reformulation in the way that it looks. But the way we're changing the finish should hopefully help prevent it from bleeding if it was being used in a way that contacted your clothing more frequently. I'll just put it that way. So a lot of new and exciting projects are on the horizon for us, and 2025 is going to be an amazing year. I'm really, really excited for it. And I'm really thankful to all of you guys who've supported the company in the past and have been awesome and have provided us with the opportunity to do this. I am more confident than ever that this brand will be one that will last for the ages, and we are going to do everything in our power to ensure that that's the case. And it's been a good year. A lot of other companies have struggled this year, and I'm not going to say it wasn't a struggle. It was certainly a struggle, but it's a good struggle. I mean, I was talking with my friend the other day, and we were talking about what would your ideal day look like. And he described a day that I would classify as a leisure day. And for me, an ideal day isn't a leisure day. An ideal day is a day where you're doing work. You're getting something done. I mean, Teddy Roosevelt famously said that there's no greater joy than working hard at work worth doing. I think that says it all. I mean, that's exactly right? We need to work hard at something. As creatures, we were created to do things. We were created to serve one another and to work hard. I think that anything less than that leaves something wanting. And I think that while the occasional holiday and break is a good thing for everyone, provides everyone with an opportunity to rest and relax and recover, I think that should be relegated to the time it's set aside for, the small little bits that it's good for. And then I think every other bit should be working hard at work worth doing. And I am very proud that we have work that's worth doing. So I really appreciate all of you who've allowed us to continue to do that work. And I'm hoping that there is an exciting future ahead that continues to allow you guys to have awesome new products. And there are new things coming. I can guarantee you that. So stay tuned. Keep watching. Wednesdays every week, we will have an awesome new podcast. I'm hoping to keep on top of it. If you guys have podcast ideas and you're like, I haven't heard from you in 6 months and I wanted to know what happened with this thing, mention in the comments below. I am always looking for topics to talk about. So I would love to answer any questions you have about the last 6 months if something specific was on your mind. Otherwise, if you just want to comment something nice that does help us with the algorithm, obviously, we appreciate those of you who've liked and subscribed to our product or to our podcast. It does help us. We want the algorithm to promote our product to other people. One of the ways that our company can grow is through the podcast becoming popular and having people watch it. So for all of you who've shared the podcast, for all of you who've contributed to its algorithmic success on YouTube, thank you. And thank you to everyone who supported the company. Be sure to reach out to us on the website, Murdy Creative Co, if you've got any questions whatsoever, MURDY creative.co. We have our contact form there. There you can text us, call us. The website might look slightly different in the future here, hopefully. However, the contact form will still be on the front page because that's a good place for it. So reach out to us if you have any concerns, questions, ideas, things like that. We want to hear from you. We love hearing from you. If you want to leave us a good review on your product, please go check out murdycreative.co/review. That's how you can leave a review. If you want to read reviews, you can go to murdycreative.co/reviews and read all of our amazing reviews. It really does help the company, and we love hearing it. I read the reviews out loud to our team often because they are hugely encouraging. They are wonderful to hear, and that's really nice. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a great day, and goodbye.